Good day to each and everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 2 of chapter 2 for the subject Fundamentals of Criminal Investigation with Intelligence. And in this video presentation, we will continue the topics that we have discussed in the part 1. No? So what is the scope of discussion in this video presentation? In this video presentation, we will discuss the major types of investigation, as well as the categories of investigation. We will also discuss the difference between overt investigation versus covert investigation. We'll also discuss the trichotomy of investigation. And of course, we'll also include the topic about the criminal investigator. Sino nga ba ang criminal investigator? No? Yeah. We will also discuss one of the most important topic in fundamentals of criminal investigation, which is the cardinal points in criminal investigation, or yung pong starting point ng lahat ng investigador kapag ka nag-iimbestiga. Ito po yung 5 W's and 1 H, o yung tinatawag nilang 5 wife and 1 husband, dahil lahat po ng katanungan ng investigador na dapat masagot ay nag-uumpisa dito. Ito po ay nagsisilbing guide ng lahat po ng investigador para matukoy at malaman ang katotohanan tungkol po sa isang krimen. We will also discuss the characteristics of competent criminal investigator, or the desired characteristics of a competent criminal investigator, as well as the golden rules for criminal investigator and the inquest requirements to be prepared by investigators, no? Especially if a certain person was arrested by virtue of warrantless arrest circumstances, then kailangan pong agad na ipa-inquest. Ano naman yung mga kailangan bago magkaroon ng tinatawag na inquest proceeding for the determination of probable cause, no? Ayan. So what are the objectives, no? Why is it that we are presenting, no, or discussing the lesson, no? At the end of the topic, you, as a listener, should be able to identify correctly the different types of investigation. You should be able to differentiate the categories of investigation. You should be able to compare overt and covert investigation. You should also be able to ascertain the trichotomy of investigation. You should be able to dramatize who is a criminal investigator and what are the characteristics of investigator. Dapat kayang-kaya mong i-portray yun, no? So, meaning to say, later on, you will have a simulation activity, no? Wherein you can dramatize the characteristics of a criminal investigator. You should also be able to identify the use of cardinal points in criminal investigation. Kailan nga ba ginagamit yung when? No? Ano dapat ang sagot doon? Kailan ginagamit yung where? Kailan ginagamit yung who? Kailan ginagamit yung what? Kailan ginagamit yung how? At yung why. Di ba? You should also be able to illustrate the characteristics of competent criminal investigator. You should also be able to demonstrate the golden rules of criminal investigation if you will have a simulation activity. You should also be able to recognize the inquest requirements to be prepared by investigators. And these things are very important, especially when you will become law enforcers someday. Okay? So kung ready ka na, then let us now proceed to our main topic. Okay? So, ano nga ba yung pong mga major types of investigation? No, sa inyong palagay, sapagkat ako'y di mapalagay, ano yung major types of investigation? We have at least 6 major types of investigation. First is what we call as formal investigation. No, ano nga ba ang formal investigation? Formal investigation, ladies and gentlemen, is an official inquiry conducted by government agency, usually law enforcement agencies, to uncover facts and determine the truth. Okay? When you say fact, something which can be shown to be true. No? Yan. So ginagawa po ng government agency, usually law enforcement government agencies, in order to uncover the facts and to determine the truth. It is usually considered as some form of an inquiry concerning criminal activity. And it is typically done, or it is usually done, by law enforcement agencies. No? So tandaan po, ang nagkakandak po ng formal investigation ay law enforcement agencies. Pag sinabi nating law enforcement agencies, kasama dyan ang Philippine National Police, kasama po dyan yung pong ating National Bureau of Investigation, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and other law enforcement agencies tasked to enforce specific laws. Ayan, no? And the purpose of their investigation is to discover facts concerning a civil or a criminal case. Okay? Ayan po ang formal investigation. Ano naman po yung susunod? We have inquest. What is inquest? It is an effort to search basic cause of an incident, such as commission of crime. It is used to describe form of judicial inquiry frequently associated with investigators or investigations conducted by public prosecutor to determine if there is a legal ground exists in filing criminal information against person. The examination conducted by medical legal officer as requested by police investigator or the prosecutor for purpose of determining the cause of death. So ang basis or yung pong purpose ng inquest is to determine the probable cause, no? Yan. Probable cause to believe that the crime has been committed and the respondent is probably guilty thereof. Okay? So yan, para malaman kung ano yung basic na dahilan kung bakit nangyari ang isang insidente. So tatandaan nyo yung kinakandak po ng public prosecutor, no, to determine whether there is a probable cause to believe that the crime was been committed and the respondent is probably guilty thereof. No, that is inquest. We have also inquisition, no? It is a penetrating investigation concerning a religious issue. Yan, so yun po yung pinaka main concept ng inquisition. Inquisition is a more historical description than a current usage. Yan. So ito po ay parte ng history. Eka nga. The term inquisition became a disgusting word as a result of ruthless application in relation to inquiries done in Europe during 15th century to suppress heretics o yung pong mga mangbabarang, no? Yan. So, yun po yung gamit ng Inquisition. A penetrating investigation to determine whether a certain organization is religion nga ba or isang kulto. Yan. So, yun po ay Inquisition. We have also probe, ladies and gentlemen. It is similar to formal investigation. However, it is more extensive. Mas malaliman po yung pong pag-iimbestiga. Searching inquiry conducted by government agency also. It is often associated with committees or yung pong example nito ay yung pong sa Senate hearing, no? Probe po ang ginagawa doon na kung saan ang dami pong nagtatanong, no? Ito po ay binubuo ng committee. Example ng committee is yung Blue Ribbon Committee. Yan. So probe is usually in the form of legislative inquiries wherein they are investigating a certain event as a basis in passing a new law. Yun po yung probe, ladies and gentlemen. We have also research. It is a type of investigation is done by scientists or scholars for discovery of something, you know, or to discover a certain cause of a certain problem. And so it is a careful, patient investigation done by scientists in their efforts to identify original sources of data or causes of a certain problem. And of course, it is also being done for the improvement of the services. No? Ayan, so research po yan. And yung recent or yung pinakabago na klase ng investigation ay yung pong tinatawag na investigative reporting. From the word itself, investigative reporting, the investigator are conducting investigation in order for them to attract their viewers. No? So, investigative reporting is a recent type of investigation pursued by members of the press or media on their own initiative. It is designed to satisfy two purposes. First is to attract the viewers or readers, and second is to get the roots of a certain problem. Okay, so yun po ang investigative reporting. Napakadaling tandaan, ano, nag-iimbestiga para meron po silang may report para maakit yung pong kanilang manunood para manood sa kanila. Okay? Yan. Next slide. Ano naman yung categories ng investigations? So what are the categories of investigations according to John Dempsey, one of the author of the book entitled Fundamentals of Investigation? John Dempsey categorized investigation into 6 different types also or categories, no? Pero pinagpares-pares niya ito. First pair is criminal investigation versus non-criminal investigation. Ano nga ba yung kaibahan ng dalawa, no? So, yan po itutunghayan natin sa susunod na slide, ano? The second type is reactive investigation versus proactive investigation. Reactive, from the word react, meaning na may nangyari bago ka pumunta. Pro means before, active means the occurrence, no? Meaning to say you will conduct investigation before a certain crime will exist. We have also overt investigation versus covert investigation. So, bali anim po yan, pero pinagpares-pares ni John Dempsey. Para sa ganoon ay mas madali pong ma-categorize, no? Yung pong mga different types of investigation or different categories of investigation. So, let us discuss the difference between the pairs of investigation or pairs of categories of investigation. So we have to discuss first the difference of criminal investigation and non-criminal investigation. No? So criminal investigation usually carried out by police or law enforcement agencies with the goal of prosecuting a person responsible for crime. Okay? This type is usually assigned to it can also be assigned to private investigators. However, it is usually assigned to public investigators, no, sa mga law enforcement agencies. While non-criminal investigation, from the word non-criminal, hindi po tungkol sa krimen, hindi po tungkol sa crime, hindi po tungkol sa criminal. Yan. So non-criminal. So it involves non-criminal incidents or events. Like for example, you are conducting an investigation for you to discover a new theory. That is a non-criminal investigation. No, it is conducted both by public police or private investigators. The main difference of public police and private investigator is that police investigator are funded by the government. They are the law enforcement agencies which is funded by the government. While private investigations are funded by individual clients or business tulad ng bangko, gano'n, no? For example, yung pong non-criminal investigation, for example, is yung pong kakayahan mo na magbayad ng utang, di ba? Yung pong credit investigators ng mga bangko o kaya yung pong ating mga lending companies. So, non-criminal investigation po yung kinakandak nila. Pero yung pong ating kapulisan na kung saan sila ay nag-iimbestiga pag may nangyaring krimen, iniimbestigahan nila yon para makuha yung pong facts, no? Yung katotohanan at tawang katotohanan lamang for filing of case to the prosecutor's office, no? So, meaning when you say criminal investigation, it is investigation which is connected or related to a certain crime, no, to discover the person who committed that crime so that that person will be convicted if there is a sufficient evidence that will be provided in court. Okay? So, yun po yung criminal investigation. Yung non-criminal, hindi po tungkol sa krimen ang iniimbestigahan. No? Yun po yung simpleng paliwanag. Next question or next slide, the difference between reactive investigation versus proactive investigation. No? So ano ang pagkakaiba ng dalawa? Reactive investigation, ladies and gentlemen, is usually initiated on basis of complaint filed by the victim or any concerned citizen. Ibig sabihin, may nangyaring krimen, may nagreklamo. Kaya nga tinawag pong reactive. Why? Because a certain event already exists or a certain crime already exists, no? Before investigating. So, kaya nga sabi dyan is active re, no? Which means after the active phase, after na nangyari, ibig sabihin, saka pa lang may mag-iimbestiga, no? So it is usually initiated by complaint filed by the victim. While proactive investigation is the category of investigation which is conducted by police based on their own initiative. Like for example, they are conducting patrol or they are conducting decoy operations, no? Then, kahit walang complaint, yan, so they are trying to detect the commission of a certain crime in flagrante delicto. That is proactive investigation. Okay, pro means before, active means the occurrence, no? So before the occurrence of a certain event, the police officer is already conducting investigation, no? So these are designed to catch criminals in the act of committing a crime or what we call as in flagrante delicto. So reactive, may nangyari na bago po nag-respond ang police. So usually it is initiated by complaint, no? Filed by the victim or any concerned citizen. While proactive, wala pong nag-complain. The police use their own initiative. So ano naman po yung stages of reactive investigation? The stages of reactive investigation, ladies and gentlemen, includes preliminary investigation. Preliminary investigation is also known as initial investigation, which is focused in identifying the perpetrator. No? So ang focus kung bakit kinakandak ang preliminary investigation or initial is to identify the perpetrator. And the usual setting of preliminary investigation is usually at the crime scene where the crime was committed. Preliminary investigation is an initial inquiry into a reported crime and it is generally conducted by uniformed patrol officer. Natandaan po yun, no? So the patrol officer must prepare the first written report of crime, which generally called as complaint or incident report. The setting is usually at the crime scene. Kaya po yung preliminary investigation is considered also as crime scene investigation. Bakit sila nagli-lift ng fingerprint? No? Bakit kinukuha yung dugo doon? No? The main purpose why is it that the investigator are lifting fingerprint is to identify the person who committed the crime, no? Ayan. So the setting of preliminary investigation or initial investigation is usually at the crime scene, no? Wherein it is the most critical phase in majority of criminal investigation. A brief review of the steps of preliminary investigation is warranted. Okay? So ano ba ang ginagawa ng mga first responder pagdating sa crime scene, di ba? To attend to any existing emergency such as injured person or fleeing suspect. So, unang-unang gagawin pagdating sa crime scene, ladies and gentlemen, is to give or to attend to any existing emergencies. Kung buhay pa yung victim, no, or injured yung suspect, then you need to attend to the needs. Then secure the scene, measure, photograph, videotape, and sketch the scene. Search for evidence, identify, collect, examine physical evidence, You can also question the victims, witnesses, and suspects, record all statement, observation, and notes onto tape, which is vital in preliminary investigation. Ayan. Then, the next stage of reactive investigation is follow-up or yung tinatawag na in-depth investigation. Follow-up investigation is assigned to a trained police detective and usually involves processing of physical evidence, interviewing witness, interrogating suspect, conducting record searches, surveillance operation, and following investigatory practices. Follow-up investigation is also known as following investigation or in-depth investigation. And the focus of in-depth investigation is tracing, locating, and eventually arresting the suspect. The tracing, locating, and eventually arresting the suspect. Yun po ang focus ng follow-up investigation. Okay? Ayan. So yung pag-conduct ng follow-up operations kung naririnig. Then we have also the final or concluding investigation. Concluding investigation is also known as final investigation. It is focused in evaluating and presenting evidence to prove the guilt of the accused. No? So kung ang investigation ay may threefold aim, kung tawagin sa PNP setting, na yung threefold aim of investigation to identify the guilty party, to trace and locate the guilty party, and to provide evidence of criminal guilt, meron ding stages of reactive investigation na nakatapat doon po sa tinatawag po na threefold aim, no? So the purpose of preliminary investigation is to identify the guilty party. The purpose of follow-up investigation is to trace, locate, and eventually arrest the guilty party. And the purpose of final or concluding investigation is to provide evidence of criminal guilt. No? Then there are also some other reactive investigation strategies na ito po ay sadyang napaka-importante na dapat pong malaman ng pong mga gustong mag-police, no? O kayo po yun. So earlier, it was noted that time is critical in solving crimes. In most solved homicide, for example, a suspect is taken into custody within 36 hours. And a case is not solved within this frame, the chances of it ever being solved fall drastically. It is according to Brundle. No? As such, case load and corresponding time pressures often lead to old cases set aside, so new cases with fresh leads can be investigated. Given seriousness of some cases, however, it may not be desirable to suspend and terminate investigative activities in such cases. That's why police administrators created alternative means to investigate such cases, which involves the creation of the following. At yung po yung paggamit nga ng tinatawag na cold case squad. Kailan nga ba tinatawag na cold case ng isang kaso, no? Sa Pilipinas, kapag ka hindi po na-solve yung pong kaso ng local police units within 6 months, then yung kaso is considered as cold case na. Ayan. So, sa ibang bansa, meron pong tinatawag na cold case squad. Ano nga ba yung cold case squad? Ano ang hawak nilang kaso? So, cold case squad, sila yung may hawak ng mga cold cases kung tawagin. The cold case squads, these are usually assigned to murder and other high-profile crimes. They allow for new eyes to be put in old cases. Okay, so mga bagong investigador sa lumang kaso. So Regini describes the operation of cold case homicide squad in Washington, na minsan na ginagawa rin sa Pilipinas na pinapa-open ulit yung isang kaso para ito po imbestigahan ng cold case squad. The squad does not respond to fresh homicide scenes. Rather, cold cases that it investigates are at least 1 year old and could no longer be worked on by the original investigator because of workload, time constraints, or lack of leads. Cases assigned to cold cases or cold case squad teams of at least 1 agent and 1 detective. In addition to DNA technology as potential to have significant impact on cold case investigation, especially into crimes that occurred decades ago. So ito po yung mga matagal ng kaso, then meron pong bagong grupo na aatasan para imbestigahan at buksan muli yung kaso or imbestigahan muli yung kaso. Yung pong grupo na create ay tinatawag pong cold case squad. Okay, sila yung tututok sa mga cold cases. Yan, no? So we have also the task force or task forces. Naririnig nyo siguro yon, no? Kung yung kaso ay hindi lang po simpleng kaso, then agad-agad ng ating kapulisan ay nag-create ng tinatawag pong task force. Yan. So task force is in response to high-profile crimes, particularly those that involve several jurisdictions. Investigative agencies may form a task force. Task forces are usually temporary in nature and bring together representative agencies to deal with a particular crime problem. A task force is highly visible response. Task forces are particularly common in investigating drug trafficking and serial crimes kasi yung sa drug trafficking kailangan po ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno tulad sa Pilipinas, kailangan ng Philippine National Police, National Bureau of Investigation, Bureau of Customs, no? Bureau of Immigration and Deportation, kasama na rin ang Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency and other law enforcement agencies. Pag pinagsama-sama mo yan para bumuo ng grupo para ma-solve yung kaso, ang tawag po ninyo ay task force. Yan, no? Then we have also the three categories of reactive investigation based on initial surrounding circumstances or circumstances surrounding the case according to Jack Cundall. We have three types. We have the walkthrough, where are they, and who done it. So according to Jack Cundall, there are three types of investigation based on initial circumstances of the case. Walkthrough, where are they, and who done it. Kailan daw masasabi na yung kaso daw ay walkthrough? Kapag ka madaling na-solve yung kaso at agad-agad na-determine at na-locate ng detective yung pong tao na gumawa ng krimen, ang tawag daw doon ay walkthrough. Ayan, no? The walkthrough is a type of investigation in case wherein the suspect is easily determined and located and the detective must only observe legal guidelines to reach a solution. Kapag ka naman nalaman mo kung sino ang gumawa ng krimen, subalit hindi mo alam kung nasaan nagtatago yung tao, ang klase daw nung pong reactive investigation ay yung tinatawag na where are they. Kasi alam mo kung sino sila, pero hindi mo alam kung saan sila naroroon. Di ba? Then we have who done it. Who done it or who did it is a case which no suspect are initially identified. Wala pong identity yung suspect, hindi po natukoy, no? And majority of the who done it, no, crimes reported to police under this category are rarely solved. Usually hindi po nasosolve yung pong mga who done it. So tandaan mo yun po yung three categories of investigation based on initial circumstances of the case according to Jack Cundall. Okay, so balik po tayo doon po sa proactive investigation. Kung ang reactive investigation ay merong 3 stages at meron pong other investigative strategies, sa proactive investigation ay meron ding pamamaraan, no? At ito po, yung nga pong tinatawag natin na decoy operations. So what is decoy operations? Decoy operations, ladies and gentlemen, is part of proactive investigation wherein the police officers, no, are playing as a potential victim, no? So decoy operations are of blending in decoy types. In blending type, officers dressed in civilian clothes try to blend into the area to catch criminals in the act of committing the crime or yung tinatawag na in flagrante delicto, no? In decoy operations, and officers plays the role of potential victims. The decoy officer waits the subject of a crime while a team of backup officers are ready to apprehend the violator in the act of committing the crime. It is most effective in combating crimes such as robbery, snatching, and other similar forms of theft. For example po, no, ay palagi pong meron pong na-hold up sa Burnham Park na magsyota. So, anong gagawin ng mga pulis? Sila po ay mag-disguise na magsyota at pupunta sa Burnham Park. No? Yan, sila po ay magdi-disguise na magsyota para sa ganun ay sila ay pagkamalan na potential victims. Okay? So, we have also the second one which is called as Repeat Offenders Program. No? What is Repeat Offenders Program? It is a program wherein there is a targeted at repeat offenders with extensive criminal histories. Meaning to say, ito po yung programa na kung saan babantayan ng pong ating kapulisan, yung pong tinatawag po natin na recidivist or yung pong mga quasi-recidivist. Yung mga may record na ay sila po yung kailangan po ng continuous surveillance. No? Ayan, lalong-lalo na kung yan po ay nakagawa ng 2 beses na, then malaki ang chance na yan po ay gagawa muli. No? So we have also the undercover operations such as sting, bypass, and entrapment. Okay? So what is sting? Ito po, tandaan niyo po ito. Sting perhaps is the most common type of undercover operations which usually involves an investigator mismo posing as someone who wishes to buy or sell some illicit goods such as drug or sex to execute some other sort of illicit transaction. So, hindi po gumamit ng asset. Kasi kung gagamit ka ng asset, papasok po siya sa bypass operation. No? So, pero kung yung mismong investigador siya mismo ang nagkunwari na posure buyer, ang tawag po doon sa operation ay tinatawag po sting. At ito po yung pinaka-common na klase ng undercover operations. Sting operation come in multitude of varieties, and over the years, the police have used such strategies in rather imaginative ways. No? Bypass operation, on the other hand, is type commonly used in catching drug traffickers or yung pong ating mga drug dealers. No? So, bypass operation is common po sa drugs. Kaya nga bypass no? Bibili, tapos meron pong undercover officer or yung pong tinatawag na asset na makikipag-abutan ng bayad. Then they will be caught in flagrante delicto. Drug dealers are arrested at some point after posher buyer purchased drugs from them using the marked money. Entrapment, on the other hand, involves duping someone who has intention to commit a crime to execute their plan. But upon consummating the crime, they are arrested right there and then. Entrapment is a technique of inducing an individual to commit crime, but he or she did not contemplate for the sole purpose of executing a criminal prosecution against the offender. Pag sinabi kasing entrapment, it is the general term wherein the police officer will set a trap to catch the offender in flagrante delicto. At ang mga klase nga ng entrapment operations ay kasama yung pong tinatawag na sting at saka yung bypass operations. No? So sana po inaintindihan nyo yung pong difference ng reactive investigation at proactive investigation and the different types of reactive investigation as well as proactive investigation. Susunod, we have the third pair of types of investigation, that is overt investigation and covert investigation. So napakasimple lang ito, no? Overt investigation is conducted openly. Ibig sabihin yung pong investigador ay hindi na kailangang itago ang kanilang pagkatao bilang mga investigador or police. They will not hide their true identity or hide the fact that they are conducting investigation. Most reactive investigation are overt. Okay, pag may nangyaring krimen, siyempre may nag-report, alangan namang sasabihin mo, magpapalit ka pa ng uniforme para hindi ka mahalata ng pulis, di ba? Yan. Then, a covert investigation is conducted in secret, surreptitious, no? Pasikreto. Kaya nga under the cover usually, no? Ang covert operation usually called as undercover operations. A covert investigation is conducted in secret, whereby investigators try to hide their identity and the fact that they are conducting investigation. Generally, proactive investigation are covert, commonly called as undercover investigations. However, these categories of investigation are not mutually exclusive. Pwede pong magkasama. No? For example, yung pong covert ay usually proactive. Yung overt naman, reactive. So, combination of the two. No? Another investigation conducted by the police may be proactive and covert. Ayan po, no? Yung pong difference ng overt investigation, lantarang pag-iimbestiga, samantalang yung covert investigation po ay patagong pag-iimbestiga para malaman ang katotohanan at para makaresto ng mga gustong arestuhin. Okay, let us proceed to the next slide. Next slide pertains to the trichotomy of investigation. When we say trichotomy, ladies and gentlemen, it refers to the three vital elements or part of the body, which is the body, mind, and soul. And according to Macasiano, as stated in King Ew 2009, it is stated herein that the trichotomy of the body of a person pertains to the body, mind, and soul is also the same as the trichotomy of investigation. Dahil ang investigation daw ay meron ding three parts, no? Which is the body, the mind, and soul of investigation. So what is the trichotomy of a criminal investigation? We have the training, which is the key from bondage of ignorance, no? Being a critical factor in developing good and competent investigator, the training is the key from bondage of ignorance. Ignorant person cannot be a competent investigator. Siyempre, ignorante nga, alangan naman maging competent investigator. Ano? Ni isang batas, walang alam. Yan, di ba? So, learned and professional investigators are active weapons against crime. This kind of investigator can be produced through organized training. Their training, however, is dynamic process and it never ends, meaning the training is continuous. Effective only on men with self-discipline and prolific minds. Through training, a person can build his confidence, broaden his vision for professional growth, and strengthen his will to survive during crisis. We have also the tools, which is considered as the body of investigation. The tools in investigation includes the information, which is used to answer the 5 W's in 1H. We have also the interview, which is the first and foremost method of obtaining information. Interrogation is being conducted to those recalcitrant witness and suspects. And we have also instrumentation. No? Ayan po yung pinaka body of investigation. So, most dilemmas encountered by detectives are caused by too much reliance only on tools of investigation, while information, interview, interrogation, instrumentation are vital components of investigation. Complete dependence to these usually leads to messy investigation. Therefore, the success of criminal investigation depends on action between investigators' training, tools, and techniques. Ayan. So ano nga yung pong pangatlo? Yung pong techniques. Techniques pertains to the updated techniques of the investigator based from his training. No? So, trainings, nag-training siya para siya ay makabuo ng techniques, no? At gamit yung techniques at yung natutunan niya sa training, i-apply niya yun sa pag-gather ng facts or information, no? Na kung saan yung po yung tools para maging successful yung pong tinatawag na investigation. That is according to Macasiano as cited in King of 2009. So tatandaan niyo po yung training, tools, and technique as the trichotomy of investigation, or tools is the body of investigation, no? The training is the mind, and the techniques is the soul of investigation. Take note of that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, well, let's proceed to the next slide. No, so the next slide pertains to the criminal investigator. Sino nga ba ang criminal investigator? No? So criminal investigator refers to a public safety officer, meaning to say he maintains the safety of the public, who is tasked to conduct investigation in all criminal cases as provided for and embodied in the revised penal code, the criminal laws and special laws which are criminal in nature, a well-trained, disciplined, and experienced professional in the field of criminal investigation. So isang taong nag-iimbestiga tungkol sa krimen, tawag natin ay criminal investigator. Okay? Then criminal investigator may also refer to a person who performs an investigation. Criminal investigator is also known as prober. Kaya naririnig nyo yung sinasabi ng prober, no? To probe, to investigate, to conduct investigation. And the criminal investigator is considered as the superstar in the process of investigation. Siya po yung superstar dahil siya po yung magko-collect lahat ng information, no? Siya po yung magko-consolidate ng lahat ng information na nakalap ng pong membro ng crime laboratory, yung pong result or findings ng kanilang evaluation of evidence. Ang magko-consolidate lahat nun, no, ay yung pong superstar of investigation, which is the criminal investigator. Criminal investigator are also known as fact finders. When you say fact, no, tagahanap po ng katotohanan at pawang katotohanan lamang, since they focus their efforts on facts that are related to criminal activities. They could be detectives from the government or from private sector. Some are even fictitious. When you say fictitious, kathang-isip lamang. No? Tulad po ng mga nasa pelikula, example po nung Sherlock Holmes. No? Doon po sa kapelikulang Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Yan po, no? Pwedeng kathang-isip lamang na investigador. Pwedeng makatotohanan. Yan. Then, police investigator. Ito po yung definition ng police investigator under the PNP NAPOLCOM circular. A police investigator refers to a PNP uniformed personnel, both commissioned officer or non-commissioned officer. Kung sinabi nating police commissioned officer, yun po yung may ranggong police lieutenant pataas. Then police non-commissioned officer, yun po yung may sleeve ranks. Yung pong police executive master sergeant hanggang sa rango na patrolman or patrolwoman. Now, conferred with appropriate certification to investigate with care and accuracy by conducting step-by-step examination through a patient inquiry and meticulous observation. You say meticulous, they can observe minute details, no? Data and other pertinent support crime theories to establish relevant facts to aid in identifying the offense and criminal offender, locating him and providing evidence of his guilt, leading to successful filing of prosecution of offense. Subject should be a graduate of CIC. So bago maging isang investigador, kailangan graduate po yung isang police ng criminal investigation course para sa police non-commissioned officer, or kung yun naman police ay lieutenant pataas, kailangan matapos yung pong information officer basic course. No? Yan po ayon sa NAPOLCOM Circular number 2013-002. Susunod, sino naman ang police detective? Dati parehas lang po yung investigator at detective. However, by virtue of NAPOLCOM Circular number 2013-002, magkaiba na po, no? Police detective refers to a PNP uniformed personnel who has previously certified as police investigator, dating police investigator, but was able to complete 18 units in master's degree and have completed the police detective course. So kung tatanungin ano dapat ang kurso na matatapos ng isang police bago maging detective, police detective course. At dati rin siyang police investigator. And acquired requisite experience relating to investigation of cases and appearance in court, duties to support the successful filing and prosecution of offenses. Yan po ang police detective. No? Case manager. Pag sinabi natin case manager, sila po yung hepe ng investigation section or investigation division. So case manager refers to a police commission officer. Hindi na po pwedeng non-commission, commission officer kasi nga siya yung manager sa isang division ng PNP. So a police commission officer was previously certified as police investigator, PCO category, but was able to complete master's degree, completed investigation officer management course. So ito po yung course na kailangan nila, no? IOMAC or YOMAC, recorded number of required investigation and prosecution of cases. So tatandaan nyo yung case manager, ano? Siya po yung may hawak doon po sa isang division or investigation division. At bago maging case manager, kailangan po ay matapos niya yung kanyang master's degree at at the same time matapos niya yung training na investigation management course. Okay? Ayan. So let us proceed to the 6 cardinals or 6 cardinal questions in investigation. Tandaan po pag sinabi nating cardinal, starting point, no? Or starting questions. Ano nga ba yung pong 6 na kauna-unahang tanong na dapat masagot sa investigasyon? So ito po yung mga kauna-unahang tanong na dapat masagot sa investigasyon. When was it committed? Okay? So when was the crime committed? No? When was it committed? Diba? And the answer for this first question sa when should be the exact date and time when the crime was committed. Yan. Then second, where was the offense committed? Then of course, the answer should be the exact location of the crime scene. Then who committed it? Sa who naman, no? And the answer should be the identity of suspect or suspects. And what, sa what na cardinal points, ang first question to be answered is what specific crime was committed. Then the answer should be the name and designation of the crime, whether it is rape, no? Whether it is homicide, whether it is shooting, whether it is stabbing. Ayan. Then how was the offense committed? Paano ginawa yung offense, no? So the answer for this, what is the modus of operation? What is the modus operandi? Yun po yun, no? Then the why, no? Why cardinal question? Why was the crime committed? The answer should be the motive and intent. Okay? So yun po yung mga pangunahing mga katanungan, no, sa mga cardinal points. Kasi ito cardinal question, mga pangunahing katanungan na dapat masagot. At yung pong mga kasagutan dito ay yung po yung nagre-reflect doon po sa tinatawag na police blotter, no? Yan. Kaya kung makikita nyo sa police blotter, ano? On or about 1750 hours of, no, yung date, yung exact na date at, no, yung location ng crime scene, no? Then Mr. So and so, no, stabbed, no, gano'n, no? Oh, magkakasunod-sunod po yan, yung mga cardinal questions at yung pong mga dapat sagot. Okay? So let us proceed to the cardinal points. No? When we say cardinal points, ladies and gentlemen, these are the starting point of all questions. No? So the cardinal points of investigation, according to Dempsey, he described it as Newtway by adding the last letter of each of the questions daw, no? So Newtway daw 'yon. Sa kabilang banda naman, ito yung tinatawag na 5 W's and 1 H. Pag pinagdugtong-dugtong po yung mga unang letra, no? 5 W's and 1 H, samantala yung dulo ay Newtway. So ito po yung tinatawag kong cardinal points. Okay? All questions start with this question. And this question serve as guide to investigators. Ito yung dapat nilang mga masagot. Okay? So nag-uumpisa lahat ng mga katanungan na dapat masagot ng investigador. Nag-uumpisa sa 5 W's and 1H. Okay? Pero maraming mga katanungan ang pwedeng matanong dyan. No? Pero ang mga pangunahing tanong, tawag natin ay cardinal questions, yun po yung mga tanong na na-discuss natin sa previous slide. No? So sa when, marami pong tanong dyan. Ano? Tulad ng when was the crime committed? Yung kauna-unahang tanong po yun. When was the crime reported? When was the evidence discovered? When did the first responder arrive? When was the scene secured? When was the scene released? Okay, ilan ni-release yung crime scene, di ba? We have also what crime was committed. Okay, ano yung specific na crime? What was the relationship between the victim and the perpetrator? Magkamag-anak ba yan? Tatay ba ng biktima yung or tatay ba ng biktima yung offender? So, yan po. So, what was said and by whom? What evidence might there be? What evidence has been discovered? What was missing? What was left? And so on. No? We have also the cardinal question where did the crime occur? Yung cardinal question doon. We have also where was the evidence located? Where are all the witnesses now? Were all the witnesses? Where do the witnesses live? Where is the suspect? And also how was the crime committed? How did the perpetrator gain entry? How did the perpetrator departed from the crime scene? And so on. Sa who naman, who committed the crime? Who had the motive to commit the crime? Who was the victim? Who saw what happened? Who reported the crime? Who might know something? Who is the victim? Wala pa dyan. Ano? So, napaka-importante rin yan. Yung dapat malaman yung biktima. No? Para sa ganun ay matukoy kung sinong may motibo, bakit siya ay bibiktimahin. We have also the question or the cardinal point why. Why was the crime committed? That's the first question there, no? To be answered. Then we have also why was the victim chosen? Why was the location chosen? Why were the criminal implements chosen? Okay, so yun po yung kabuuan ng tinatawag pong cardinal points in criminal investigation. And these points serve as guide to investigator because these are the questions that should be answered by the investigators during the course of investigation. Okay, so tatandaan nyo po yung 5 W's and 1H. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also use this in your daily life as your guide, no? So saan ka pupunta, ano ang iyong gagawin, gano'n. So these 5 W's and 1H is very important in the course of investigation because it answers the 5 W's and or it is the guide, no, of investigators in gathering of information. These are called as the 5 W's and 1H. Okay? Ayan. So let's proceed now to the desired characteristics of a competent investigator. No? So ano nga ba yung pong mga desired characteristics of competent investigator? Let us discuss this by answering these few questions. No? It is the desired characteristics of an investigator to endure despite of many obstacles that he may face during the course of investigation. So kahit maraming pagsubok sa kanyang pag-iimbestiga ay kailangan niyang ituloy pa rin ang kanyang pag-iimbestiga. Yan, no? So ibig sabihin, meron siyang tinatawag po nating perseverance. Ang mga investigador ay may perseverance. Pag sinabing perseverance, ito po yung pagpupursige. Pagka sinimulan mo, tapusin mo. Yun po yun, perseverance. Pursigido. Ha? Sa Tagalog, pursigido ka. Once you have started the investigation, you should finish it. You should see to it that there should be a result. Yan po ang investigador. Integrity. No? When you say integrity, the investigator should have to uphold the law despite of many temptation. Pagka ikaw po isusuhulan ng alak pulutan babae, di ba? Huwag mong tanggapin. Gawin mo ang iyong trabaho sapagkat ikaw ay merong integridad. Okay? Ayan. Kung ano ang nakasaad sa batas, sundin mo. Meron kang integridad. Kahit walang nakatingin, gagawin mo kung ano ang tama. Yun po ang integridad. Di ba? O parang kayo, kahit walang nakatingin sa inyo, ginagawa nyo ang inyong mga assignments, quizzes, na kayo talaga ang gumagawa. Hindi kayo nandaraya dahil kayo po may integridad. Then we have also endurance. That is a physical and mental energy of investigator to last despite of his sleepless nights and tiring days. Yan. Then perseverance, yun po yung persistency to bring the desired result. As I stated a while back, if you have started the investigation, you should finish it and you should bring the desired result. Okay? Pag sinimulan mo, tapusin mo. Yun po ang perseverance, pagpupursige. We have also intelligence and wisdom. That is the capacity of investigator to know, to separate grain from shaft. Dapat alam mo kung sino ang nagsasabi ng katotohanan at pawang katotohanan lamang at kung sino magsasabi ng kasinungalingan. Kaya mong i-separate yung ipa doon po sa bigas. Next question. The characteristics of an investigator to deal with different types of person is letter A, acting activity, B, mastery of oral communication, C, mastery of written communication, and delta, keen power of observation and description. At ang sagot dito ay yung pong tinatawag na acting activity. Okay? Bakit kaya kailangan ng acting activity ng mga investigador? Sabi nga nila, investigator should be an actor because the investigator should be able to deal with different type of people. Minsan, ang kasalamuhan mo ay yung pong judge, minsan po yung prosecutor, minsan po yung witness na walang pinag-aralan, minsan po yung bata, minsan matanda, minsan hostess, iba't ibang taong kasalamuha, pero kaya mong makibagay sa kanila. Yan po yung acting activity. So mastery of oral communication, ito po yung observance of tact in diplomacy. Pag sinabi nating tact, that is the selection of proper words to be used in the investigation. For example, nagkakandak ka po ng interview. Yung pong ini-interview mo, rape victim, hindi mo po pwedeng tanungin sa kanya, paano ka kinanto? Paano ka binanatan? Diba? So, pwede mong sabihin sa kanya, pwede mo bang isalaysay kung ano ang nangyari? Diba? Yun po. Mastery of oral communication is the observance of tact and diplomacy. Tact means the selection of proper words to be used during the course of investigation. Mastery of written communication in the sense that as an investigator, you should be able to know how to write the different requests, different forms, different investigation reports. Okay? Kaya po meron po kayong subject later on na technical report writing 1, 2, 3 hanggang 4. Then you have keen power of observation and description in the sense that you can observe minute details which happens within your surroundings. Ayan po yung acting activity. It is the capacity of investigator to improvise, adapt, and overcome a certain situation. Next question. It is a characteristics of an investigator to tell the truth no matter who will be heard. Letter A, courage. Letter B, firmness. Charlie, working knowledge in laws. And Delta, firmness in upholding the laws of the land. And the answer for this question is courage. Kung yung pong tinatawag ninyo na endurance sa lakas ng katawan, talas ng isipan, cobra energy drink, pag meron ka rito, wala kang talo. Ito na pong courage ay lakas ng loob na isiwalat kung anuman ang katotohanan at bawang katotohanan lamang base sa ebidensya na iyong nakalap. No? Walang kinikilingan, walang pinoprotektahan, serbisyong totoo lamang kahit sino ang masagasaan, kailangan mong isiwalat kung ano man ang iyong natuklasan sa iyong pag-iimbestiga. And another characteristics of investigator is working knowledge on laws. Kailangan alam mo kung ano po yung batas para sa ganun alam mo kung ano ang kasong isasampa mo. Kung meron bang kaso na dapat isampa o wala ba. Yeah? So sabi nga ninyo, applying the principle of legality or yung pong legality principle or yung principle of logomacy, nolum crimen nulla pena sinilihe. No crime when there is no law punishing such. Yeah? So, for example, sinaksak ni Pedro si Maria ng 60 beses. Sabi, ano ba ang krimen na nangyari? O, depende po kung ano ang ginamit panaksak. Di ba? So kung ang ginamit panaksak ay 6 inches kitchen knife, abay yun po ay murder. Diba? Kung ang ginamit po ay yung kanyang penis, yun po ay rape. Diba? Kung ang ginamit karayom, walang crime dahil yun po ay acupuncture. Yan. So you should have a working knowledge on laws. Okay? So, sa kabuuan, ito po yung characteristics or the desired characteristics of a criminal investigator. We have incorruptible honesty and integrity. You cannot corrupt. Sabi nga dyan, incorruptible nga, no? Honesty and integrity na kung saan ay hindi ka po nasusuhulan, no? Ikaw po ay meron pong integridad na kung saan kahit anumang mga tukso ay hindi ka bibigay. Eka nga. No? So, ikaw man ay susuhulan, ay gagawin mo pa rin kung ano ang tama. Na? Gagawin mo ang tama kahit walang nakakakita. Yun po ang tamang integridad. Perseverance, ladies and gentlemen, is the capacity of investigator to persist despite of many obstacles. No? Ito po ay yung pagpupursige kahit maraming pagsubok. Yun po ang perseverance. In short, porsigido. Kailangan magkaroon ng result ang iyong paghihirap. Observation and description is necessary or important to an investigator to become a keen observer. When you say keen observer, you should be able to observe minute details in the investigation. Dahil tandaan nyo, small things make a big difference. Kasi ang tinitingnan sa investigation is small details which make a big difference. For example, fingerprints, no? Doon sa fingerprints, ang tinitingnan dyan ay mga maliliit na ridge, no? And furrows. Yan. Then we have knowledge on laws. Investigator should have a basic knowledge on legal matters so that you should be able to know what is the crime that you should file in court. No? To determine also whether there is a crime that was violated or not. You have also endurance, yung po yung sinasabi ninyo, lakas ng katawan, talas ng isipan, cobra energy drink, pag meron ka rito, wala kang talo. That is a physical and mental energy to last despite of the sleepless nights and tiring days. Courage, yun po yung characteristics ng investigador na isiwalat kung anuman ang naging resulta ng investigasyon at wala po siyang kikiligan, walang protektahan, servisyo, totoo lamang. Oral and written communication is very important because as an investigator, you should be able to know how to observe tact and diplomacy, and you should be able to know how to write communication letters. Then the power to read between lines, no? The ability to interpret word and phrases, especially in investigation. Then intelligence and wisdom of Solomon, that is the capacity of investigator to decipher falsehood from truth, separate grain from chaff. Eka nga, kaya mong i-determine kung sino nagsasabi ng katotohanan at kung sino nagsasabi ng kasinungalingan. Then you have also technical knowledge, the capability of investigator regarding the use of firearms, defense tactics, and the likes. Dahil ito po importante rin pagka po yung suspect ninyo ay lumaban. Enacting activity is the capacity of investigator to deal with different types of people. Dahil gaya ng nasabi ko kanina, pag ikaw ay nag-iimbestiga, iba't ibang klase ng tao ang inyong makakasalamuha. No? Yan. However, the National Institute of Justice identified motivation as the first primary trait of a competent investigator. Sabi nila, motivation ang pinaka-importante na characteristics ng investigador. Motivation. So the reason is obvious that successful perform tasks, you must have the interest in doing it. Okay? It is also a managerial function. It requires the need to inspire others to do a good job. In investigating crimes, you have to work because you need the services of others. Thus, you must be able to influence other people to help you to solve a case. So according to the National Institute of Justice, the number one characteristics that the investigator have should motivation. Okay? Yan. So let's proceed to the golden rules for criminal investigators. No? So upon arriving at the crime scene, criminal investigator must observe these golden rules before or while processing the scene. These rules can be applied to any type of crime scene. Okay, so general po ito, generic. Yan. So any type of crime scene. So upon arrival at the crime scene, anong unang gagawin? Identify and if possible, retain for questioning a person who first notified the police. Sino ba ang tumawag? Ito. Yan. Kung yan po ay reactive investigation. Second, determine the perpetrator by direct inquiry or through observation of his identity or if his identity is obvious if no, the perpetrator is still at the crime scene. Detain all persons present at the crime scene, no? Because they have, of course, a connection with the crime, whether they are witnesses or whether some of them are part of the commission of crime. No? Summon assistance if necessary, assign specific duties to assistant subordinates if any, and immediately separate witness or suspect for purposes of securing independent statement. Huwag mo silang pagsama-samahin, yung pong witnesses. Huwag mo rin pagsama-samahin yung suspect, paghiwalayin. Okay? May word po na ginagamit dito is isolate them. Pag hiwa-hiwalayin. Okay? If it is practical. Kasi minsan, mag-isa mo lang, ang dami nila. No? Protect the area by giving appropriate orders and by physically isolating it. Then, of course, gumamit ka ng cordon, ika nga. Then, permit only authorized people to enter the crime scene boundary. Then, do not touch or move any object found at the crime scene. Then, some authors emphasize the 8 rules as a golden rule. At crime scene investigation, this rule has been rephrased in this manner. Okay, so para mas madali, ito po yung kanilang na-rephrase, mga iba't ibang author ay ni-rephrase nila sa ganitong pamamaraan. O never touch, alter or move or transfer any object at the crime scene unless it was properly marked, sketched, measured, and photographed. In short, bago ka mag-move ng any evidence at the crime scene, you need to mark, sketch, measure, and photograph any object at the crime scene. Diba? So this considered dictum that must be observed during crime scene investigation. The purpose is strictly complying with this is to avoid destruction, mutilation, or contamination of physical evidence found at the crime scene. Or in short, ito po ang golden rule, never mock the crime scene. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng mock, ladies and gentlemen? Never mutilate, no? Mutilate, meaning wag mong i-damage. Do not damage or do not make any damages at the crime scene. No? Do not alter. Wag mong ibahin yung position. No? Or never contaminate. Pag hinawakan mo kasi yung isang ebidensya, it's already contaminated. Baka yung pong fingerprints mo, yun na yung makikita later on pag prinoseso. That's why never mutilate, alter, or contaminate any physical evidence unless it is properly marked, sketched, measured, or properly photographed. Okay? So yun po yung golden rule, malagintong rule. Ibig sabihin, hindi dapat po bina-violate dahil nga golden rule po yun, mga kapangarap. Okay? So let's proceed doon po sa inquest requirements to be prepared by investigator. Okay, if the person was identified at the crime scene, and of course, the crime that was committed is punishable by 4 years, 2 months, and 1 day or below, then the police officer should be ready for the conduct of inquest proceeding, no? After the arrest of the person. Identify mo, syempre ma-arresto mo. So, anong susunod? Pa-inquest mo na, di ba? So, the next topic is about the inquest requirements to be prepared by investigator. Concept, inquest is an informal and summary investigation conducted by whom? By public prosecutor. Yan, so ibig sabihin, dadalhin po ng police yung pong na-arresto niya sa public prosecutor in criminal cases involving person arrested and detained without the benefit of warrant of arrest issued by the court for the purpose of determining whether or not the said person should remain under custody and correspondingly charged in court para kasuhan na, no? So, designation of inquest officers. Meron pong naka-assign sa every city, no, or province na prosecutor kung kanino magpapa-inquest ang mga pulis. Pag nagpulis kayo, malalaman nyo yan later on, no? Pero ngayon, at least magkaroon kayo ng idea na meron palang naka-assign na city or provincial prosecutor na naka-designate na kung saan sa kanila po pinapa-inquest ng mga pulis ang kanilang naaresto, no? So the city or provincial prosecutor shall charge, designate the prosecutor assigned to inquest duties and shall furnish the Philippine National Police. So bibigyan kayo ng listahan sa istasyon, no? A list of their names and their schedule of assignment. If, however, there is only one prosecutor in the area, all inquest cases shall be referred to him to appropriate action. Unless otherwise directed of the city or provincial prosecutor, those assigned to inquest discharge their function during the hours of their designated assignment, and only at the police station, headquarters of PNP, to order to expedite and facilitate disposition of inquest cases. So, may naka-assign. Kada police station, may listahan ng naka-assign na prosecutor, yung pong inquest prosecutor kung tawagin, para sa bawat istasyon, no? Kung kanino kayo magpapa-inquest. Then, commencement and termination of inquest. Kailan nag-uumpisa yung pong inquest proceeding at kailan natatapos? So the inquest proceeding shall be considered that commence or start upon receipt by the inquest officer from the law enforcement authorities of the complaint referral documents, which include, tatandaan po mga kapangarap, yung pong mga dokumento na kailangan nyo isubmit sa prosecutor's office for inquest proceeding to determine or for the determination of yung tinatawag na probable cause. So ano yung mga report na isasubmit ng police, no? Ano yung mga dokumento? Unang-una yung affidavit of arrest. Bakit kailangan isubmit ng mga police ang affidavit of arrest? Kasi ang isang titingnan ng prosecutor is legality of arrest, whether the arrest is legal or not, no? Ayan. Then we have also the investigation reports. We have the statement of complainant and witnesses and other supporting evidence, no? Dahil ang mga ito, yung pong basis sa pag-determine ng prosecutor ng probable cause. Okay? Whether a crime has been committed and the respondent is probably guilty thereof. Therefore, may statement ang witnesses at complainant. Meron pong supporting evidence. For example, shooting incident. Pwede yung basyo, baril, ayan. And supported by testimonies of witnesses to determine the probable cause. Okay? Then, of course, kasama na yung affidavit of arrest to determine the legality of arrest. And of course, the investigation report. So, tatandaan niyo po yung mga kasamang dokumento, no? So, affidavit of arrest, anong purpose niyan? Para yung prosecutor ma-determine yung pong legality of arrest. Okay? They should also include the investigation report. Usually, yung investigation report dyan ay yung pong initial investigation report, no? Or yung spot investigation report. Yan. Then, yung statement of complainant, tsaka statement of witnesses to determine the probable cause that the crime has been committed and the respondent is probably guilty thereof. Okay? Then, the inquest officer shall, as far as practicable, cause of the affidavit of arrest and statement, affidavit of complainant of witness to be subscribed and sworn to before him. So, kailangan po nila na isubscribe yung pong kanilang mga affidavit, no? The inquest proceeding must be terminated within a period prescribed under the provision of Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code as amended. So, ang inquest kasi ay matatapos, no? Ang legal kasi na pag-detain ng mga pulis sa isang tao na kung saan ay wala pang pag-detain ng mga pulis kung walang reklamo, no? ay sinusunod yung tinatawag nating reglementary period of 12, 18, 36, no? Tapos 72. So ano ba yung 12, 18, 36, 72 na yan? Kailangan, no? Pagka ang penalty ng crime na na-commit is light penalties, kailangan ma-filean po ng kaso yung pong isang tao within 12 hours. Okay? Pag hindi po na-filean ng kaso yan within 12 hours, ay kailangang pakawalan dahil pag hindi na pinakawalan yan, then pwede pong kasuhan yung pulis ng arbitrary detention. Pagka naman yung pong penalty ng na-commit na crime ay grave no, or less grave, no, ay kailangan po na pakawalan yung tao within 18 hours. Pagka ang penalty is yung pong correctional penalties na kung tawagin, no? Pagka naman yung pong penalty, yung pong grave penalties, okay, ay or capital penalties, ay kailangan ay mai-kaso or mai-file na yung kaso sa prosecutor's office within 36 hours. Pagka terrorism, kailangan ma-filean ng kaso yung tao within 72 hours. Yan. So yun po yung mga yung pag-file ng tinatawag pong case, no? 12, 18, 36, then 72 sa terrorism. Meaning, pwedeng ikulong ng pulis yung kung isang na-aresto within 12 hours, 18 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours. Okay? Pero kung hindi pa na-filean ng tamang kaso o karampatang kaso doon po sa inquest prosecutor, no, within the period as prescribed by law, kailangan pakawalan na yon. Kasi kapag hindi mo pinakawalan, then ikaw po'y kakasuhan ng arbitrary detention. Yan, no? Okay, yun po yung inquest proceeding. Kaya kapag ka yung mga uminom dati, nagwala-wala, di ba? Punishable by light penalties, kinulong ka lang ng pulis, wala namang nagreklamo, pinakawalan ka before 12 hours. Okay? Kasi wala namang nagreklamo. Yan, kaya hindi mo na pina-inquest. Kasi pag hindi ka pinakawalan after 12 hours, pwede ka nang magkaso sa kanila ng arbitrary detention. Okay? So I hope that it is clear, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. Muli, ito ang inyong kapangarap, no? Kaibigan at kakamping, Mr. Sammy Bingwasan Stoke. At sana po meron kayong natutunan doon po sa ating short video presentation. Kung meron kang natutunan, huwag kalimutang mag-subscribe. I-click mo na rin yung bell button and click also that you will be updated regarding the latest upload. Thank you very much and God bless you all. Ingat mga kapangarap.